Thursday, the 2nd of October, 2025, and I just got back late last night. I drove to Montreal, downtown, to Pat King's studio, which is great. First time I've ever been inside a studio like that to do a podcast, and yeah, it was great. He has a lot of knowledge. It was very interactive. The podcast was 2 hours and 10 minutes long, and it didn't even feel like that. It was just going so smoothly, and just a lot to talk about. We actually had to shut it down because we could have talked for even longer, because it's the first time he had ever talked in person. And so I did reach out to him, as I've told people before on this channel, and he responded. And he is someone that I had been tracking for and following for a few years. And even in 2021, when he took Dina Hinshaw to court, I was sharing that, and his court hearings, him going to jail, all that awful stuff that happened to him because he participated in the Freedom Convoy, and advocating for peace, all of these things, and yeah, and he had a really big role in it, and so we talked about so many things, including barnyard meetings and honeypots, you name it. And we're going to unpack further. So it was smooth. And so he did invite me back. So we might do multiple podcasts together, which is exactly what I wanted, because I've been doing this on my channel. I've wanted to collab for years now with people within Canada, Canadian content creators, and the people I've communicated with for years, they have still not wanted to do a podcast with me. And I still to this day, I don't understand why, because it would be value added, in my opinion. And so anyway, before I get into my video from almost 2.5 years ago, that's going to make a lot more sense to people now, what I was saying then. Because again, when you're saying things that sound conspiratorial in advance, even knowing again that there's data out there like that shows like the plans and the everything in place in order to usher in these various movements and plans, then yeah, people just don't want to hear it. It just completely gets brushed off. People Agent Smith themselves, and anyway, it is what it is. And so I'm going to show some Instagram stories first before I get into it, because Canadian government, it's an absolute mess. And that's another thing I was talking about with Pat King yesterday, was that people within the House of Commons and Cabinet are largely responsible for the fuckery that's happening within Canada. And we can easily be one of the best countries in the world, the best country in the world, and we have people that are enabling and supporting our societal collapse and the hollowing out of the middle class, and impacting people that are already living in poverty, like record-breaking homelessness and food bank usage, etc. You name it. And yeah, it's a bit of a mess, and we're not doing well economically, despite the fact that liberals and the mainstream media are going to tell you otherwise. It is not true. And there's some good channels like Moose on the Loose that show the breakdown, and Mario, as to showing actual complete clips and footage of people speaking and answering questions, and not just cherry picking. And so you get the full information. So a lot of these sound bites and small clips that people within mainstream media are using, or people within the House of Commons, like on the liberal side, they're using sound bites that are completely misleading. They've done it for years, and it's not acceptable. And this is why these people need to resign. We have people that are getting shuffled within cabinet, not being held accountable for failures from the past. And it's absolutely disgusting to me that these are actual traitors to Canada. They're grifters, not the new people in that haven't had a position before. Like, let's give them a chance. But there's a lot of people within cabinet, like we've said before, that are recycled back in, and they shouldn't even be there. And this is why there's a lot of people that don't trust the government. They don't trust Ottawa. Right? And it's trickling down to law enforcement, and targeting military, and targeting firefighters, etc. When it's a lot like largely the swamp, with people that don't even wear a uniform, that are downtown working desk jobs, never had like super unfit, super unhealthy, super far left or radical woke, so many different areas, right? So like we had that guy that was working for the Department of National Defense, some kind of I forget what position it was, but and he's the one that threw that smoke bomb at in the church, and then coordinated an attack on Alexa Lavoie when she was trying to call him out on it. Not call him out, but like ask him questions about it. And it was this guy that works for the Department of National Defense. Again, doesn't wear a uniform, like not the person that's like on the front lines at all in any capacity. And these are the clowns. And I even showed this. They're counter protesting as well, or they're getting people within their groups. They've gone rogue within government. They're doing their own thing. And again, it's also like not helping people within government, like law enforcement and military, etc., do their jobs. It's actually making it worse. So well done. We need higher standards for people that are working within the Department of National Defense, etc. And regardless of what your position is at this point, because again, the well has been so poisoned. People are talking about it though. So I tagged her. I didn't tag her, sorry, but I said hashtag girl crush. This is Stephanie Kuzi, I think it is. Yeah, Stephanie Kuzi. And so the tag here is Carney doesn't give a rip about Calgary, a rip about Alberta, or for that matter, Canada. And that's a fact that he's been working with government and around it like a little weasel for years and not helping.
This week, Imperial Oil announced it will lay off 20% of its workforce and relocate its headquarters out of Calgary. The Stampede City gets the shaft again. This Prime Minister has the power to eliminate C-48, C-69, the emissions cap, and the industrial carbon tax, but he doesn't care about the average Canadian. He doesn't have to tell his family. He doesn't know how they will pay the mortgage or put groceries on the table. To add insult to injury, it is rumored that Imperial's headquarters is being sold off to none other than Brookfield. So not only did this Prime Minister cause this demise, he could be profiting from it. The truth comes out. This Prime Minister doesn't give a rip about Calgary, doesn't give a rip about Alberta, or for that matter, Canada. The bad news for him is that I and my Conservative colleagues still do. And we will not retreat until the promise of Canada is restored.
My mouse is not working. A lot of grifters in the House of Commons and friends and family and connections from other departments and stuff like that. There's a lot of agency operations that go on. And they have shares and stocks in the military pharmaceutical technology complex. And it's just absolutely repulsive. Real estate. You got people within, like, they're just trying to get rich. They're grifters. And a lot of businesses are leaving Canada. A lot of middle to upper middle class people are leaving as well because they're sick of paying more and more and more, getting squeezed more and more and more. They can't afford it. And yeah, it's going to get worse. This was funny.
$40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is.
Sedentary migrants, millions of dollars. Okay.
$8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender.
A billion.
$40 million to improve.
I don't know if it's that much, but I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, all of this wasteful spending, and it's an absolute grift. And it's not even, there's so many things I could say about it. But anyway, so this is why I'm going to share this video, because she was Truth Seeker 01011 explaining digital IDs.
So people keep asking me, what's the big problem with digital ID? Everything's already digital for us. That's not what digital ID means. Digital ID doesn't mean everything will be online or digital. It means that everything that you have right now will be encompassed under one digital ID that is governed by one entity and that it can be shut off whenever they wanted to. So I found this picture on the World Economic Forum. I've already done a video on this using this exact same picture, but I will try and explain it a little better. So if you look at this wheel, this is everything that they want to encompass under the digital ID. And the dangers of that is because that means they will override the authorities that already govern some of these separately. So for example, you have a driver's license that's being monitored by the Department of Transportation. So for example, if you get a speeding ticket, they can't just go and cut off your cell phone or cut off your bank account until you pay it. With digital IDs, they can do that. So same thing with healthcare, right? Right now you have a health card that is being governed by the Department of Health. Well, if this comes in, they will just bypass that. So what they want to encompass in all of this is healthcare, financial services such as banks. You will not be able to get in your bank, use your money if you do not get digital ID. Food and sustainability. Somehow they think that, digital IDs will help farmers produce better. No, it's just going to monitor them. Travel and mobility. You will not be able to book or fly or anything without this, so that they can monitor exactly where you are at all times. Humanitarian response. They're saying that in case something happens, it'll be easier to find you. Bullshit. They're just wanting to monitor you at all times. E-commerce. You will not be
So
able to sell,
creepy.
buy, or anything if you do not have this. Social media platforms. You will not be able to log on to social media, no more fake accounts, if you do not have this. E-government, taxes, voting, EI, all of those things you will not be able to actually get if you do not have this thing. Telecommunications, cell phones, same thing. Smart cities, and that's where it gets dangerous. I can do a completely separate thing on that, but it's complete control, because it says it's pretty much going to siphon data and see your energy usage, your utility usage, and traffic congestion. Now, if you add CBDCs to that, meaning the digital currency, they have absolutely all control over everything that you do,
CBDC, central banking digital currency.
buy, say, own everything. That's the dangers of it. So right now, if you get a speeding ticket, they can't just cut off your cell phone. With digital ID, if you get a speeding ticket, they can cut off your cell phone. And then they can track and monitor you, and they can also add carbon credits to your life based on how you shop and how you do this. This is to control the populace and basically corral the sheep into behaving exactly how they want you to behave. Otherwise, they cut you off from the rest of the world. And we've seen the Canadian government do this during the trucker protest when they cut off bank accounts, completely illegal. And they've done it again since.
Yep.
But I guess some of the liberal dummies didn't realize that.
No, they realize that. It's absolutely absurd. And so I just got one more here. Fairly controversial, but very interesting post. I sent it to a few people, and so here we go.
Violent, but all Islam is violent.
Okay.
It's the same as Christianity. Not all Christians are
I'll just
Muslims are violent, but all Islam is violent.
Okay.
It's the same as Christianity. All Christians are holy, but Christianity is holy. So when you see a Christian in the street get drunk, beat his wife up, you're like, that's not a Christian. The foundation of Christianity is holiness. But Islam in general, when you see a nice Muslim in the street, just because that Muslim is nice, it does not mean that's Islam. Islam is a violent religion. Muhammad was a warlord who went around killing Christians, Jews, anyone that got in his way. Christianity, as you said, Christianity spread through the blood of the martyrs. Islam spread through the blood of its enemies. Christianity was spread through the blood of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Christianity is a religion of peace. Islam is a religion of war. When people say Muhammad, may peace be upon him, they can't say Muhammad with that saying, may peace be upon him. I say no, we need to change it to may the police be upon him. Literally, this guy, wherever he goes, Muhammad, there's war. And I hope Muslims are listening to me. If you're a kind, loving, caring Muslim, you're not a Muslim, because you're not following the Quran. The Quran commands you to kill me. The Quran commands you to kill the infidels. Muhammad literally says, kill the infidels wherever you find them.
I think a Muslim would say, well, yes, but it's interpretation of those verses. And then they'll say there are verses in the Quran they match elements of Christianity.
When people say, you're misinterpreting, I'm like, okay, let's just look at the founder. Muhammad, Jesus. Muhammad said, kill the infidel. Jesus said, love your enemies.
and here's some verses. So kill them, crucify them, slay them, fight them, slaughter them, besiege them, terrorize them, maim them. Jesus Christ. Love them, bless them, pray for them, help them, give to them, do good to them, be merciful to them, forgive them. And a lot of this is incompatible with Christianity or Canadian culture that doesn't take things literally from the Bible, right? We have the Canadian Bill of Rights. We have in the U.S. we have the Constitution. I love the Constitution, honestly, and the documents that support it. I think Canada should adopt that kind of a model, and within our government, more like it is in the U.S. with the House of Representatives and the Senate, and cabinet positions where you get grilled by people in Senate in order to get a cabinet position, and it's voted on by people within Senate. I've already talked about all this stuff, but Canada doesn't do that. So we have a lot of people within cabinet that are not qualified at all, and they're in positions that it makes no sense. And anyways, with Mohammed allegedly also, and again, this is not to like sound controversial. It's actually like in the texts that he married a child of 6 years old and then consummated the marriage when this child was 9. And so, yeah. Anyway, so on to the video from almost 2.5 years ago. So it gets into a lot of stuff that's coming out more and more now that people are more open to talk about it. And this is, again, from like over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 62 views, 3 likes. And one of those likes is mine because I liked it. I'm biased though. There's renovations happening in the background. I hope that's not too distracting to people. Getting the windows replaced downstairs because they're very, very old and not energy efficient at all. Anyway. Okay. This is me talking in my dining area / kitchen. Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 30th of May, 2023, and I'm likely going to go on a lot of tangents, but it's been a few days since I've done a video, and I always get such low viewership when I go a few days without posting, so, and I did have a lot of information that I want to talk about as well, but I have a busy day doing yard work for stuff that happened before I technically bought the house, and so, but I'm going to be the one continuing to sort it out. Anyway, it is what it is. Where was I going with this? Okay, so Don Lemon. I was going to talk about this in my earlier video, but there's been videos that have been circulating with an interview that he had conducted before he got fired. And it was talking about reparations for slavery. And the person he was talking to was discussing really, really good points. First of all, neither of them know the real history of the world that is being suppressed and has been for hundreds, if not thousands of years. But the fact is that there have been people of all different skin colors all over the world on various different continents and islands, and you name it, throughout history, during different cycles and resets, or whatever you want to call it, different eras, that have had slaves, that have been advanced civilizations, that have been more primitive civilizations, and again, depending on natural and man-made events, and just the cycle that people are in those times, and it's really, really hard to explain. But even now, in 2023, we have people all over the world, and there's varying different cultures and ideologies and religions and cult groups and different lifestyles and ways that people live, and except that's now slowly yet again getting replaced with 15-minute cities so that people can be controlled in these freaking like jail cells, essentially prisons, and not see the reality of the world for what it is. And I keep on reading. I know I'll go on this tangent, but 93% of America is not inhabited, right? It's unoccupied. And so what people do is they build these false like communities or whatever you want to call it, and expand out from there. And it gives us the perception that there's perception that there's traffic all over the world or everywhere, and congestion and just way too many people, right? Because like you keep on building in areas and you're putting in so many different types of groups of people, and you're just not realizing that this is part of what causes societal collapse, right? When you have it's just a recipe for disaster. It's like the socialist models that I talk about, Universe 25, like I talk about, Stanford prison experiments. There's so many different reasons why we need to speak up more on this stuff. 99% of Canada is not occupied, right? And so this is not to say like to exploit Canada because we're not so occupied. But guess what? Even China, I believe it's like 90% or 91% of China is not occupied or inhabited by humans. And so even with billions of people or over a billion people, and the same thing with India as well, right? These areas, because it's been a very, very long time that they keep on building outward and outward and outward, and which is why there's so many different places where there's restrictions on meat or like limitations on it, and so many health issues, and oversurging electrical grids, and this is all over the world too. Actually, there's examples of this in places that are overdeveloped, where you're just exploiting and raping the resources and the soil and the trees and all things that are needed to create ecosystems and that cycle of life with the water, the rain and the soil and growing things, and not a sustainable model. And then once places get unable to be sustained, could be because of places were built because of mining in the area, and then once the mining stopped, then there was no economic capabilities in those areas, and so they become ghost towns. There's ghost towns and cities all over Canada. People can take a look at it now. There's even somewhere where it's still they still have the electricity on, and yet again with electricity, ground towers and fiber optic cables, ladies and gentlemen, is what is needed for that. And anyway, what's going with this stuff? So the reparations, like for slavery, and even with Slavic people, and that's where like slaves, like that term came from. And Slavic people, take a look at the skin colors, right? And even that, right? There's debates on like what the true original skin colors of the Slavic people were, but a lot of theory suggests that they were white. Okay, and so there have been a lot of white slaves throughout history as well, sex slaves too, even now, and even within my own family lineage, and that people don't discuss, right? So like not, and even like I've shared pictures of this too, where children too, young children, under the age of 6 years old, shucking oysters for like, so like even that, like for hours upon hours of the day, and slave labor, and then looked like in really unhealthy conditions, and working in mills and fishing plants and like you name it. And so but also there were dissenters within these communities is what I want to say. So like even in the Slavic regions, or in Africa, or in the Middle East, or in North America, wherever, South America, island regions, there's dissenters. So like, should they be paying reparations as well, right? Because there's a lot of people in the USA saying that people are owed reparations, but what about the people that are black that were dissenters, and that were also people that were slave owners, which is proven, and more advanced societies and stuff like that, even within North America, even before the colonials came, that's advanced. That's proven, and I do share that information, and I've cited it. And then this was not popular to say out loud 2.5 years ago. I was saying it before this too, but I had just moved the month prior to this and started doing Rumble videos in 2023 because my YouTube accounts kept on getting zapped. Multiple YouTube accounts deleted on me, even LinkedIn, other social media platforms. And so stuff I was talking about, I've showed archives that I was able to recover. But anyway, within Africa too, like rallying up slaves of all ages in order to put on ships. And there have been people like throughout Europe and all over the world too that have died on the seas trying to stop people from Africa from selling their people and rounding them up and stuff like that, and selling them to people all over the world, right? And so do they get reparations as well, right? So like, does it, like, and so it should, like, we should be not just looking at the color of the skin, right? Like there's people that were white and other skin colors too that also deserve reparations because people have either lost their lives or risked their lives in order to stop this stuff from happening, right? And so like even me going to Afghanistan, that was to try to help people that were being oppressed because of a misleading false ideology and stuff like that, and just corrupt people in charge, and then just over development and over exhausting resources. And from the 70s onwards, people from other countries, even Denmark, that were going over people's crops with them, because like Afghanistan used to have like way more fertile crops and stuff like that, and agricultural means to support themselves and stuff like that. And they were trading and all this stuff, and they got used for so many different resources and fake wars and stuff like that, and money laundering and washing through Afghanistan too. There was so many reasons to like destroy that area. It's disgusting. And yeah, once you know better, you do better, right? So this is obviously not stuff that I knew before I joined, like at 18 years old. Yeah, so we need to look at the individuals, right, that have done criminal things, and not allow them to hide behind a different, like a group or an ideology or a religion. You know what I mean? There's individuals that are corrupt everywhere, right? So even within Christian religions, right? With the churches that used to be healing and a place where communities could go and gather, and and just because like we're social beings and stuff like that, and energetic batteries or whatever you want to call it, and we get re-energized when we're like in good areas with good people and stuff like that, and we kind of like tend, like our souls kind of dwindle when we're more isolated and alone and stuff like that. So but there have also been people that have been put in leadership positions where you where people thought you could trust them, and they were predators, and they were also helping enable human trafficking and like of all ages and stuff like that, and exploiting children, and that they should have been able to trust, and this has been also prevalent like throughout Canada. People that have confirmed this generation through generation, this being passed on, and it's unfortunate, and yeah. Skull and Bones. Yeah, I talk about 23 a lot, but even Room 23 from decades ago, there's like hidden symbology in that. Skull and Bones, like March 22nd is when they have their like annual meetings or whatever you want to call it. So that's 322. So you've got the 2-3 in there. It's redundant. And even with Egypt, with the stones, there's 2.3 million stones, and there's a lot of different like reasons, like the use of 23 is in there repeatedly. And I just forget. I didn't really take all the notes in that just because it's been a few days and I do research and whatever doesn't really matter to me. Like I just wash away. But even like the tilt of the earth, 23 degrees or whatever like that, which is a lie. It's a flat earth plane that's being projected on a multidimensional flat in a contained environment, which we're in. And if it's more dense, then it's gonna lower until it meets BI within the US, Homeland Security and various other departments, but within Canada as well. There's people from CSIC, CBSA, Global Affairs Canada. They still need to change their name from Global Affairs to International Affairs or whatever it was before, DFAT-D. DFAT is what was before, and something else before that. Anyway, what was about with that? More whistleblowers or whatever you want to call it, people that have been heads of institutions, so scientists, doctors, lawyers, not a lot, a handful, but finally getting the exposure, and just recently, and then more people that have been heads of departments that were trying to get information out to the top levels of government, and it being actively and willfully ignored, and people ghosted. And I can also confirm that as well. Someone that's worked in and around all levels of government, even as a trainer, consultant, advisor, analyst, all of these different, in various different capacities, and then just not having my information looked at because it didn't fit the agenda or the narrative, right? And so, but it's all finally coming out. It takes years, and sometimes it doesn't really come out at all, right? So in Norway, they're talking about, they're again trying to come up with a more socialist, communist model, liberal model, whatever you want to call it, of governance. And so like the political parties in charge, like we're talking about increasing or introducing a wealth tax, or increasing it. I believe I might have been introducing it. Because, and they were saying they would be bringing in an additional $146 million in yearly tax revenue. And everyone's like, yay! And I've said this for decades. And I even Mel Hertig, like The Truth About Canada, like I recommended this book even when I was in friggin' university the first time, got my degree the first time. And then I'm back in university for my fourth year cognitive science degree, going on a different path because what we're being taught within Canada's education systems by design is scientific de-evolution and misinformation, and it doesn't matter how much proof I can share. They're not even looking at that either, so that's another tangent. But yeah, I say this. Oh yeah, sorry. So what happened? Like the major companies, like the richest companies, left Norway. Bye. So what did they lose? 594 million in yearly tax revenue, or what do you want to call it, or wealth, because of that. And so they so an estimated 54 billion worth of the ultra lift. On the record, before this as well, but two and a half years ago, what's happening in Canada? What was I saying was going to happen in Canada, which is happening now? Even Brookfield moving last year under Carney, losing billions of dollars of tax money that way, money coming into the economy. We could have avoided all of this, but we had numpties working in cabinet, passing bills and policies and approving funds to go to everywhere else but Canada and Canadians, and building. Oh my God, of the ultra rich, and how many companies, like even people within the conservative parties that are looking into this full time, about how many billions of dollars has left Canada just since Carney took over. People started to leave again. More and more people, record amounts of people leaving, taxpayers, because they know the writing on the wall, and their resources and stuff like that gone. And I've said that even in Canada too. Like when you tax, I haven't even watched the whole video yet. Rich, back, who are already paying like a significant portion in Canada of taxes. Like in comparison to Canadians in different tax brackets and different provinces, there's different costs and percentages, and then there's federal and provincial. And except for in Alberta, which they don't have the federal or the provincial, they don't need it because they're a have country or province, and there's a lot of provinces that are have nots. That's another freaking story that I can go into. But where was I going with this stuff? Oh yeah, and so like they either they leave, or they go in the gray and they find loopholes with their lawyers and accountants because they're billionaires, and they put a lot of their stocks and their businesses in areas and countries where they're not getting as taxed as they are in Canada or now Norway and other areas where would they know what's going on with that too, right? With the heads of the banking systems and stuff. The Panama Papers, Cayman Island, tax havens, it's all coming out. People within the government could have hired me instead of McKinsey and GC Strategies, etc. Like saved a lot of money, and they don't even have to pay it back. Like that, they know that even increasing, that like the taxes and the interest rates, it's a way to collapse, banking systems and the economies. That's the and there's no real reason or justification for it other than these freaking reasons and mismanagement of the budget with again like our deputy prime minister or whatever you're going to call it, Chrystia Freeland, who also manages the budget as well, the worst in the ever, and trying to do the same things, and so like I already know people personally that have already left because of the mandates and forcing the inoculations on people that were government or were working with government, and so like there's so many different incredible people that were working on behalf of Canada and for Canada, that because Canada in their eyes has completely turned their back on them and even further suppressing them and taking away their freedoms, then they're out, right? And so because like they're more understanding that our individual liberties are taken away more and more, and that Canada, like there's so many different leaders and countries that are even saying this out loud, that Canada has now fallen. That's not my words. This is stuff that I've been trying to prevent, and that we're a communist country and that we are being run by a dictator. And the reason why there's a constitution in the U.S. that they're not properly following, so they need a new one. They need something different because it's not working, right? If it was working, they wouldn't be in the position that they're in. We wouldn't be in the position that we are in either if we had better systems in place to. I have since changed my stance on that. Like I do think that the Constitution is incredible. Obviously, like I've said this since, but I want to keep on stating that. It's just that it has not been followed. People have been abusing it and not following it, and especially the Biden era, Autopen era, allow for checks and balances. So yet again, we learn from history, and we don't get a dictator in that causes like the mass suffering and harm and death or whatever you want to call it of not only people that are alive during their tenure, but also for generations to come. And so Chrystia Freeland needs jail accountability. I've personally emailed her for years now. I've given her all the information. Multiple other people have as well, in a very peaceful, diplomatic way. Even phone calls, and nothing. And then so maybe in the next few days, there may be like banking issues or outages or whatever you want to call it that wouldn't last that long, and there'd still be electricity, but possibly internet disruptions and stuff like that. And then the issuance or the usherance, whatever you want to call it, of Starlink and Tesla energy, whatever you want to call it, power energy, and that was probably redundant, but. And so with that being said, there could also be disruptions to the ability to go out and buy food or fuel up or whatever you want to call it. And so I would always recommend people that, because we're in unpredictable times right now, not to go out and buy friggin' like 20 million friggin' rolls of toilet paper, like I said, even from the beginning, but to just make sure that you have on hand, just so that you're not stressed out, and anxious. And I know times are friggin' tough because of friggin' all the increases in grocery bills and gas and utilities and friggin' mortgages with the interest rates going up, and just like hundreds of dollars up to like thousands of dollars more in taxes. That's theft. That's interest rates, right? That's theft. And so increasing that, like there's no reason for it other than to collapse the economy, right? And because it's not impacting the people that are doing it, right? It's just that people that are getting away with it, and they don't care who suffers in the short or long term. And it's a way to actually get access to real estate, more real estate. Anyway, I'm going on all these tangents. I don't want this to be 10 friggin' hours long. That's also why it would be nice if I could be interviewed by people that are good interviewers and could keep me on track, and we can discuss a lot of things, because I have a lot of information on a lot of things. Binding agents for vaccines of HIV. So if people are having immune issues, there's ways that you can mitigate that with your lifestyle and diet and filtering water and breathing in and out of your nose, like individually and in and out, so that you're properly getting access to the canals on a regular basis and not just like one direction. So I'm just looking at all my notes to see what I can just kind of like go away with. More flatter stuff that I can share with people. There's a flatter application out there, so that's a good app. Years old as well, and even with the ancient astronomers, theosophists, astrologers, these were the ancient scientists just as much as the mathematicians, and obviously we're well versed in the mathematics as well, and gematria, however you want to pronounce it, and the universal numbering systems and coding systems using the 6 and the 9 spiral, golden ratio, Fibonacci spiral, whatever the frig you want to call it, but not just pi, but phi as well. Drink coffee. If people just took a look outside more and observed their surroundings, and then just felt and just even like took smoke, like from a candle, if we were spinning at, yeah, there's a lot of information out there. I've talked about Hollywood and celebrities and politicians and actors, like people like make it to the very, very top. They are typically people that are there for a reason. It's because they're pushing a narrative, and they're entertaining us or misleading us or diverting our attention while things are still being done that are crumbling humanity. So even Alyssa Milano, she was married to a CIA agent, right? And there has been issues and correlations with human trafficking rings, drug rings, and money laundering and stuff like that, and like heads of the CIA throughout history. I'm not making this shit up. You can look at it yourself. I've shared the information where it's actually come out and they've been actually convicted and charged and stuff like that. And people from within, like even decades ago, speaking out on this and being whistleblowers and naming people and all that other stuff. So again, not me making this shit up. Bold claims, need bold evidence and stuff like that. But anyway, where was going with this stuff? Look at the percentage of people within the U.S. currently that are dying over overdoses, and you would be alarmed that stats coming out. And again, the stats can be misleading, and that's why fentanyl. Over 2.5, like I was talking about this for years, but again, on the record, because my YouTube accounts kept on getting zapped because they don't like when people share this information. No. You can talk about the dumbest stuff in the world. You can stream playing video games for hours on end, but not this. No matter how hard I try to get free information out there, although I'm friggin' closer than anyone else in the friggin' world with everything that I've been talking about. Things could also be, like deep misleading information that like has been intentionally planted like even decades ago to make people think that it's legit from a legit source and because of the timeline and stuff like that. But this is what I mean, where people plan things out hundreds of years in advance, and like these, and we shouldn't be allowing these scripts to just keep on playing out, right? Because it's not for our own benefit, right? Like they're doing this as part of war, right? These are all war tactics that are being shown as gifts. No. And like there's just like a lot of other stuff going on right now too with Iraq and Argentina and Brazil and stuff like that, like aligning again with the Chinese yuan and going away from the American dollar for international trade. And this is all collapsing their the dollar, the strength of the dollar, obviously, right? And so there's just look at the three major economic what do we want to call it, stimulus packages, or like the three main contributors to the the budget within the U.S. And then you would see that it's heavily reliant on people being sick, fat, lazy, obedient. I don't even know, like just like not not healthy, and not accessing their spiritual side and stuff like that. And where I was going with this stuff. But there are also like the China also has like bases and stuff like that all over the world, and so they've infiltrated and anyway, it is what it is, and they're already occupying through like financially, right? So this is peaceful. This is like the silent war, or whatever you want to call it, the silent takeover, which people have been predicting and talking about for friggin' decades, even me. And yeah, so economically speaking, and so if people took their resources or their assets out of the U.S., oh my god. Anyway, I don't even want to think about that right now. Yeah, the U.S. is in inflation right now. I think it's intentional. Even Alaska, like they even ushered in, or like Starlink, that was only supposed to go, or was planned to be introduced in Alaska and like the more remote regions in like I think there was still like another couple of years wait, and like the people that was like my contacts there were telling me that it's now there, and so like as of last year even, or in the works in other areas. I don't know if I'm missing any freaking points for the day. I think I'll leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day. Excuse me, I was on mute because there's construction being done downstairs. Windows being repaired. I think that anyone that goes off grid, going in rural areas and living more off the land, so to speak. That's what I did a couple of years ago, and it would have been sooner. But my house sale, I was having issues with that, and so I have a huge garden, and so look, I've done a lot of work in the last while. Like obviously, I was planting the gardens in the March, April, May timeframe, and prepping them, etc. And then throughout the season, checking on them and the leaves and watering them, fertilizing them, etc., and trimming, blah blah blah. Like this is all like more time, more effort, but it's worth it once they grow. And so throughout the summer as well, some vegetables grow earlier than others, and so there's throughout the seasons, right? Like throughout the months, fresh vegetables, organic. But again, it's a lot more effort. But and so now I've been going through and basically gutting it because it's going to be a lot colder soon. And once it gets into these 0-degree temperatures, like they can freeze, right? And it's not good. And so I've been making tomato soups. I've been canning the vegetables and preserving them, some chopping them up and freezing them, and air sealing. And this takes effort. I have two generators. One's a backup generator that's connected to the house. So if the power goes off, we still have power to like the most important areas of the house. And we're looking at getting solar as well. And I live on a well now. That was very important to me. There's trees all around me. So that assists with like air filtration and keeping the soil fertilized. And I have apple trees, so I've been slicing apples and preserving them as well. And yeah, so anyway, and so the less reliant you are on things that are keeping you sick, even being in areas that are built up, densely populated, with like the noise pollution, with the general pollution, the electrical pollution, and yeah, it's just not healthy. It's and so even removing yourself from that, it's a huge change for a lot of people. Now more and more people are actually moving into densely populated areas, away from rural areas. And but yeah, this is like the opposite of what we should be doing. We should be like empowering more and more people to live in rural areas where they're less reliant on major systems, major grids. Because this is another reason why I say we're over exhausting the grids, and unless we build out and build like different communities away, separate from that, then it's bound to fail. Not sustainable. And this is coming from people that have worked within like Hydro One, Hydro Ontario, etc. For years that are saying this as well. And being able to hunt and fish is good as well. Like in case for whatever reason, you always want to make sure that you have air, so oxygen, air, water, fire, shelter, food. You can last like it's like several days without food, but there's things that you need first. So focus on those. Anyways, I'm rambling on. So on that note, I will leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.